Now we're ready for Lesson 7, Fraction Division C of Unit 3. And this lesson goes more into word problems. There are no activities in the student lesson guide, but you can refer to the Learning Coach lesson guide to work through and get some additional tips and strategies. Here is an example of how fraction division is implemented into a real world situation. Maria has a rope that is 2 meters long. If she cuts the rope into pieces that are 1/4 meter long, how many pieces of the rope will she have? So she's dividing the rope into pieces that are 1/4 long. And so it says how many, if she were to cut these, how many would she have? And so we would definitely, I didn't type in the answer, but we would have 8 different pieces. So there's more examples just like that as you go through. Here we have finally the model show up. It was a little delayed. So we have 2 and it's divided by 1/4. And additional problems will come along and to continue to work through that example. As you move through, there's going to be more word problems and modeling, and we really want students to think about what's the whole. Is it going to be a whole number as the bigger part that we're dividing up, or is it going to be a fraction that we're dividing up? An art studio has 9 baskets of art supplies. Each basket contains boxes to hold smaller supplies. So we have our whole 9 and we're dividing it. Each box takes 1/2. So we're starting with the whole and dividing it into halves. And then they go through and model what that means so that you can see that after you do that, how many halves do you have? And there would be 18. There are lots of story problems that are right here on the page, and I would encourage you to get your student to get out their math journal or notebook paper so they can work out the problem, and then after they do that, they can select the answer. So it says Mia's mother bought 3 gallons of ice cream for a party. If each serving is 1/9 of a gallon, how many people can have a serving? Encourage your child not only just to write out the problem, but to model the answer. So they would have their 3 and they divide it into 9. So how many servings would they have? They could feed 27 people. Here's another example. 6 thirsty children had 1/2 gallon of lemonade to share. If each child had the same amount, what portion of a gallon did each child have to drink? So we have our half, because we only have a 1/2 gallon and we're dividing it by 6. Now remember, I would encourage you to have your student make the entire whole model so that they really do see that there are 12 pieces in the whole, so that this really isn't too abstract. So again, there are tons of great problems to solve, and they can think about, are we dividing the fraction by a whole number, or are we dividing a whole number by a fraction? And the models are key to understanding. Like I said in a previous video, we don't want to just focus on the procedures of change the sign and flip, but we do want them to see how multiplication and division are related, regardless whether we use fractions or we use whole numbers. At the end of this lesson, there is a checkpoint. So as we go through, the activities are very, very similar. They are all pretty much based on word problems, and students being, even though the answer is what's here, the quotient, we definitely want to encourage a student not to just think they can work this out in their head because there is no model provided. Have them get their scratch paper and draw the model to see if their model does match the quotient. The same type of problems are going to be throughout this entire review. Now, what I will say is that at the end of this unit, we are going to skip this unit checkpoint because we did find that it was kind of confusing with all of the different models that were presented. The checkpoint was confusing as to which strategy and which procedure to use, whether it be multiplication or division. So this can stay skipped, and you can use Study Island and other resources such as Triumph to make sure that your child has mastered this skill. And I hope this helps, and good luck with competing with fractions.